Because since the Supreme Court eviscerated a key provision of the Voting Rights Act in 2013, many of the states that previously faced special scrutiny because of a history of racial discrimination have proposed and passed new laws that make it harder than ever to vote.
All right, there she is, the hopeful for divider-in-chief. That's the new title if it's a Democrat in the White House. Oh, she'll pick up right where Barack Obama left off. It's time for the Malzberg panel. And joining us on this Friday edition is Heather Hansen, trial attorney, columnist at HNGN.com, and Elura Nanos, Esquire, of course, attorney, that's what it means. Let'sLawyerUp.com is her site, also author of How to Talk to Your Lawyer. All right, ladies, welcome aboard. You know, Hillary, in the opinion of Bill Kristol, who was on with us just before, he said that it shows that Hillary is a lot more afraid of Bernie Sanders than people think. That's why she's reaching out here to the left, saying that the Republican governors are trying to keep blacks and minorities and young people from voting. Heather, I see you shaking your head.
It just amazes me. You know, she's already gone after the Supreme Court for Citizens United and saying that her big issue is going to be campaign reform. Now she's going after the Supreme Court for the recent Voting Rights Act. So she's just really going after the Supreme Court on these issues and trying to change the campaign and change the vote so that she can win at all costs.
I mean,
how is it at all? I don't see how this is at all costs. She wants to win because she wants to show that there are people who would vote for her that are sort of being kept from voting. To me, this is the most appropriate use of trying to divide people that I could possibly think of.
But the thing is, no one is being kept from voting. That's just the point, and that's what the Supreme Court in a 5-4 decision decided, that these laws are not stopping anyone from voting.
No, first of all, in the Supreme Court case, the 5-4 decision, and the decision comes down on the majority said that 40-year-old rules are totally out of touch. And in my opinion, that's totally out of touch. Because to say that minorities, the poor, and the young have the same access to voting as everyone else is just wrong.
Laura, we live in a world now where minorities, the poor and the young, and I hate lumping them all together, but if you want to, even the poor have color TV, cell phones, and every other amenity that you and I could imagine. Some of them even have a car or more. So to think that they're living somewhere and they can't get their hands on some kind of government-issued ID means they don't bank, they don't go to the doctor. Give me a break.
Well, Steve, I don't think the issue is that anyone is thinking that people cannot get a government ID. I think it's just the fact that the requirement discourages the voting. And I think
how? Heather, and you're wrong, Elura. Every Republican, I mean, every leftist I speak to says, and that's what Hillary was implying, they're keeping you from voting. Why? Because you can't afford your ID, or you're old and you can't get one, Heather.
Well, the thing is, there's no...
Wait, let Heather go.
There's no data to support it. So, Elura, your point is that, you know, they're out of touch. These Supreme Court justices are out of touch. What they said is, come back with the data. Prove it. Prove that they're not able to vote. And there's no data to support it. And in fact, the majority of voters and the majority of people support the idea that people have the same ID, as Rick Perry said today, to get on a plane as you do to fulfill one of your most important obligations as a citizen.
But even that is sort of ridiculous, because just as you said that you don't believe that there's appropriate evidence to show people being kept from the polls, there's no evidence of any voting.
Elura, you know what it's called? It's called common sense. When you show up to vote, or someone shows up to vote and says they're Elura Nanos, they should be able to prove that that's who they are. That is common sense 101, and anybody, with all due respect to you, I don't know if you're included, who doesn't want that, who would fight so hard against that, encourages voter fraud. We're coming back with the Malzberg panel. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We rejoin the panel with Heather Hansen and Elura Nanos. All right, here's the deal, folks, and I'm glad we have two beautiful women on the panel to discuss this, so maybe I could stay out of it, I don't know. But the FDA today approved what they call the pink pill, which is also referred to as female Viagra. Now, in years gone by, the FDA has not approved that. They've said no, they've rejected that for use for women to increase sexual libido and all that kind of stuff. And they gave various reasons, such as there are too many possible reasons for a woman's sexual libido to not be functioning properly, and you don't know if you're going to solve the problem with this pill, blah, blah, blah. But now all of a sudden, Heather, they say it's all fine and good.
Well, a lot of that has to do with lobbying and money. The thing that upsets me about it is that they haven't tested it all that much. They haven't tested how it contradicts and acts with alcohol and other drugs. They haven't tested it all that much on women. So while it may be a wonderful thing for many women, and we do need more drugs, but we need more drugs that are appropriately tested on women, the people who are supposed to be receiving the drugs.
I don't understand. I mean, you do a lot of medical cases in your practice. If they haven't tested this on women and they're going to give it out to women, wouldn't every adverse effect be a lawsuit?
Well, not against the FDA, though, Steve. It would be against the company, yes.
Oh, okay.
And so that's how the FDA sort of gets by some of these things.
All right. Elura?
Well, I'm kind of torn about this because on one hand, I really do see the value, and I like the idea that now we're focusing on women's health issues as opposed to just male health issues, which has historically been what we did. On the other hand, I feel like this is kind of the ultimate man's ability to say, it's not me, it's you. And most women don't need a pink pill. Most women need, a hot bath, a glass of wine, and a man who knows his way around the bedroom. So, like,
it's not me, it's you. Wasn't George Costanza, didn't he invent it's not you, it's me?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got it right. Okay.
I'm so worried that this is going to create like a nation of lazy men. But I mean, and I really do agree.
Well, I don't think this is I don't think this is an orgasm pill. I think this is a pill to get the woman in the mood.
Right.
What gets women in the mood? Like men doing the laundry and making dinner and giving you a night off.
Really? That's very. Now I don't know, Heather. Is she correct?
It's so multifactorial. I do agree with that. I mean, there is physical, just like there is for man, and I think that it's great that they're focusing on this. I mean, if they start looking at birth control for men, I will be all for it.
There is birth control for men.
Well, not something that they can take orally. Something similar to what they have for women. That would be great. I think the issue here that we need to be careful about is how the FDA is determining what they're going to release to the public and whether the tests that they have done have been appropriate. Because 5 years from now, while I would love the work, you don't want to see people who are being hurt by a drug like this.
All right, let me throw you both the curve now, but it's along the same lines because of the tone of the conversation here. And I hate to throw you a curve, but you're both big people. You could take it. All right. Scott Walker is being said to have his Aiken moment because he's going to sign the abortion bill in Wisconsin, which is totally in line with public opinion that once you hit your 6th month, you're not going to kill the baby anymore, lady. Sorry. But it also says that a father has a say in whether or not an abortion takes place. And I have maintained for like 25 years, ever since I started doing politics instead of sports, that for crying out loud, here's the risk. You have sex as a man and a woman, there's a risk that the woman's going to get pregnant. Now, if the father wants to keep that child and raise that child and be responsible in every way, shape, or form for that child legally for the rest of its life, why would the woman have a right to kill the baby, Elura?
Well, I mean, I have to say this. As a woman who has been pregnant twice, I cannot imagine the reality of anyone forcing me to go through pregnancy against my will. And it's not so much about the baby as it is about the pregnancy. And going through pregnancy is a serious thing.
Then you shouldn't. You know what? Then with all due respect, don't have sex because there's always a risk you're going to get pregnant. Once you create a life, you have that responsibility. You created a life. And guess what? Just like you're turned on by a man doing the clothes and the laundry, you have to have consideration like you want the man to have for you. You have to have consideration for the life of the baby.
But Steve, I don't think the law that he's signing is going to give a man control over whether or not the woman has the baby. I think the law that he's signing is going to give the man the ability to sue the doctor if he actually does proceed with the abortion.
Give him some
but
control.
It's not. I don't think ultimately. I think a woman's right control over her body, especially in the first 20 weeks or so. I think it's 20 weeks is this law. Is not going to be, Roe versus Wade is not going to be overturned to that degree. I think that the fact that this gives the man some rights afterwards, sure, that's certainly something to be discussed. But I think Elura's point is right that a woman's right to her body is going to be utmost.
You know what? It's not her body. It's the life that's been created within her body, knowing full well she was risking creating that life, and that's a live baby in there. And if a father of that live baby wants to have that child, you know what? She should have thought about it before she had sex. I'm sorry.
You're right. People should think about it, but the fact is people don't think about it, and the fact is
too bad. Too bad. When one parent wants that baby born, that should be enough. That should be enough.
You're going to open up. I mean, listen, Steve. There's a strong argument to be made in your direction, and I know we're talking about with the Sofia Vergara situation with the eggs, what's going to happen there.
Right.
There's a whole lot of law to be made there, but when you start opening that door, there's a lot of issues and a lot of litigation.
Like gay marriage. All right, we're not coming back, but thank you to the panel, Heather and Elura. Well, see you next week. Noah Rothman is next. Don't go away.